You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
I'm really happy to have you here today on our Training Thursday show. We're going to talk about one of these myths that if you run a lot or you do a lot of cardio, whether it's biking or maybe even swimming, that you don't need to train your legs, meaning you don't need to work your legs with weights or even your own body weight doing squats and deadlifts and lunges and step-ups. And that's because the myth, the thought that is if you run and you're running on your legs or you bike and you're biking with your legs, that's working your legs, that you don't actually need to do any type of weight training. And I've been going through this now for about 20 years with my private clients. And I always like to say, even if you are a runner or you are a cyclist, and I work with some professional cyclists and I work with some marathoners and, people do professional sports, and I let them know that even if you are running or you're cycling and you're on your legs 5 days a week, I still want 1 to 2 minimum leg workouts per week. And it's usually full body. It's not just the legs. And the reason is that running and cardio do not equal leg training. And I want to explain that because I know that probably isn't going to make sense, because if you're saying to yourself, well, if you run or bike for a half hour and you're using your legs, isn't that working your legs? Well, it is and it isn't, as they say. And the reason is, it is, meaning that the legs are moving, they're certainly pumping, and they're working on deceleration and acceleration when you're running, but they're not working from what's called an anaerobic capacity, which is the capacity that most of us care about in terms of working the legs for the metabolism and in terms of them getting stronger and in terms of them developing. Because when you are doing aerobic work, so let's qualify that, when you're going out for a run or a jog or anything lasts longer than a couple minutes, you're using the aerobic system. And the aerobic system is basically using oxygen. You're huffing and puffing, it's your heart and your lungs working, and you're producing waste in the form of what's called carbon dioxide and water. And you're essentially, again, just using your lungs and huffing that off, and your heart is pumping hard to keep your body and your blood flowing and getting your muscles well oxygenated in your cells. So that's aerobic, and that's used for, again, cardio. It's used for running. It's used for swimming, although you can do anaerobic-based training swimming if you're doing like sprints or fast laps. And it's used for elliptical. It's used for any type of cardio. So think that. Cardio equals aerobic, and it equals working your heart and lungs. And so that's why when you go out for this run or bike, you're really working predominantly your heart and your lungs. And you know this intuitively if you think about it. Here's the thing. What's the limiting factor after you've been running for a while or you've been jogging or biking for a while? You stop because you really just can't keep up, meaning like your heart and lungs, you get tired. You can't just keep pushing. It's not really like, again, after a few weeks, and we'll talk about that, your legs could keep up with the work. They can. It's your heart and lungs that need a little bit of a break. You just say, okay, getting kind of winded here, people say, right? You have to catch your wind. That's your oxygen. So think about it this way. The first few weeks, maybe even the first 2 months of training for a marathon or a 5K or whatever it might be, yes, your legs can get tired. There's no doubt about that. But without a doubt, they could get tired. And that's because in the beginning, there is some actual training for your legs. They do get sore. Yes, they absolutely. That's the beginning stages. But remember, cardiovascular work is very limiting. There is a quick upper limit to how much you can actually work the muscles. And here's why. In order to get more work done for your legs or for basically for your legs, there's one of two things you can do. You can either increase the length of time that you run, therefore adding more stress to your actual tendons, muscles, ligaments, and bones, or you can run faster, right? So you can either run at a faster pace or you can run longer. Now, again, both of those ultimately become aerobic and not so much on the muscles and legs themselves. And that's why you have to train the squats, the deadlifts, the lunges, and the step-ups from an anaerobic capacity. Now, an anaerobic capacity means that you're still using carbon dioxide, you're still huffing off carbon dioxide and water, no doubt about that. You're using your heart and lungs, but the body can't keep up anymore, meaning like the stress in the body is so great when you're lifting weights or you're even just doing body weight exercises that your body has to start using something called lactate. And it uses lactate and actually the hydrogen ions that it created from using that lactic acid metabolism to keep up in terms of energy production, because it's a faster form of energy, is what we start to feel the burning in the muscles. Now, it's that burning in the muscles that knows that we're training the body more from what's called a fast twitch muscle fiber perspective, that we're training those muscles that allows us to actually feel, meaning like we can't do any more reps within a period of about 10 seconds to up to 90 seconds. Now, this is important to keep in mind because this is called the anaerobic threshold. And you can't do that really for longer than 90 seconds, no matter how great you are. There's an upper limit to that, which means you just stop. Now, here's the thing though. When you train squats, do you stop like up and down, just basically sitting down, standing up? Do you stop because your heart and lungs gave out? No. You stop because your legs couldn't do it anymore. They were burning too much. You just couldn't keep up. That's a sure sign that you're in the anaerobic-based work capacity. That's very important as well, is because we want to train those fast twitch muscle fibers to the best of our ability, because those are the ones that we're going to use, and from that perspective, to really boost the metabolism, but also add strength to the body, because type 2, again, there's debate. We'll talk about this in the future. The type 2 fast twitch muscle fibers are going to lend to more strength of those legs. The type 1, which would be more of the endurance-based, will be more for longer distance-based training. Again, you work both of them at the same time. So I'm not saying that. It's just one form of exercise is more predominant than another. And it even gets from fast twitch to different types, type A, type B. So we can go into those in the future as well. But I don't like to turn my shows into that minute of detail. What I want is to give you action-based plans. So here's what we're talking about. I want you to understand that when you do your aerobic-based training, your biking, your elliptical, your running, whatever it might be, from a aerobic threshold, meaning more than 5 minutes, let's say, of work in a row, there's going to come an upper limit where you're no longer working your legs from a muscular-based perspective. It's more of a heart and lung-based perspective. So when you go out for those hard runs, yes, you go out for those bikes, great, you're working your heart and lungs, fantastic. I have no problem with people doing steady state cardio for up to about 30 to 40 minutes. I just have an issue with longer distance running, steady state running, which can actually cause micro tears in the heart and not good for overall aging, because it creates actually more inflammation and it creates more muscle tissue breakdown, more catabolism. I don't like that. But I have no problem with doing a little bit of endurance-based work. It's actually been shown to be very healthy and actually increase telomere length within the cells themselves. Now, what I want you to do in addition to that, though, is just make sure that every person who's listening to this does at least 2 days a week of getting the squats, the lunges, the deadlifts, and the step-ups in there. Now, the reason why that's important is because all of us need our legs and the fast twitch muscle fiber as well for long-term metabolism. And remember that your metabolism, that means 60% of your muscle is from your hip bone down to your knee bone. That is solid muscle. The glutes are supposed to be the largest muscle in the body. Use that to your advantage for long-term metabolism. Again, everyone's going to have a little harder time burning body fat as they age. They're going to have a little harder time producing more natural growth hormone, more natural testosterone. By training your legs with weights, not with cardio, by training your legs with weights, you're going to naturally boost your own hormones from a good perspective. From a natural perspective, you'll build more muscle, but also the muscle on your upper body will get strong just as an adjunct to training your legs. And the reason that happens is that you're loading typically your upper body with the weight, training your legs, but also those same same testosterone, the same growth hormone, the same hormones that you boost, increasing protein synthesis when you train your legs with weight or even just body weight, also improves your muscle tone in your upper body because your muscle gets built on your entire body, not just on little parts and little pieces of your body. So, to wrap things up, if you are a big runner, if you're a big cardio person, great, no issues, okay, no problem with that. But just make sure that you're getting in 2 days a week of resistance training, some type of squat, front squat, overhead squat, whatever type of squat you want. A lunge, it could be walking lunges, it could be split lunges, it could be Bulgarian split squats. Then you can do some step-ups. Step-ups are great as well. Keep the knee and ankle in alignment, push through, stabilize with the quad, accelerate, push through, finish with the hamstring glute, stabilize on the way back down using your calves, your ankles, all those great muscles. And then, of course, we have the deadlift. That can be the Romanian deadlift, which is working predominantly your hamstrings and glutes. Everybody should be doing that. And then also you can do your Olympic deadlift as well, which is a squat-based position, but holding the weights below the hips instead of up on the shoulders for a traditional squat. So I'm telling you, just by combining the two, I've worked with runners and cyclists and improved their running and cycling by lifting with their leg from an anaerobic perspective, right, with weights twice a week. Because we're working other facets of the muscle, which will create more explosiveness and it will allow them to also be in better alignment. Really, really important. Okay, and vice versa. I've helped people who have done just, traditional weight leg training and done more interval-based work or other types of training with them as well. So my job is to get you to integrate all forms of exercise, all forms of nutrition, all forms of nutritional supplements, the best of the best, and use that so that you can completely optimize your entire body. Hopefully now you have a better understanding that even if you're just doing cardio or just doing the elliptical or just doing any one of those things and you're training your upper body with weights, that it's not enough. That 1 or 2 days a week of those, I believe 2 would be best then to get some legs in there. Even if it's only 1 or 2 exercises, ideally 2, with your upper body training, meaning that you could do a squat and a Romanian deadlift, a lunge and a step. One of those or 2 of those exercises per workout. Doesn't have to be sit there, dedicate 6 exercises for the day. Do 2, 1 knee dominant like a squat, front squat, one of those types of exercises, and then do a hip dominant like a Romanian deadlift. If you do that, you're going to get the best of both worlds. I'm telling you, you're going to boost your metabolism, but you'll also improve your cardiovascular work as well. Thank you everyone for tuning into another Cabral Concept. Really appreciate each and every one of your listens. Please do feel free to share this with anyone you believe it could help. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.